Ladies and gentlemen, I'm JT. I think now is as good of time as ever to talk about Fallout, specifically Fallout 4, and its place in the franchise and as an RPG. I've been playing Fallout 4 for a couple weeks, probably since launch. I never got a review code for it, so I was kind of stuck waiting for it to come out by itself. I was on vacation when it came out, and I've been on vacation this week. I actually was at a press event in Disneyland for Star Wars, but that's a different story. Playing Fallout 4 is much like playing Fallout 3 in that it's an okay game. I wasn't a big fan of Fallout 3 in a way that I didn't like the change from the way that the original Fallouts were. I was a big fan of Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Not so much Fallout 2. I felt like Fallout 1 was definitely a better game, but that's, up for grabs. It's anybody's opinion on that. No, my problem with Fallout 3 was it was just boring. It was a big open wasteland and there wasn't very much to do, but it was still a good RPG. Then we had Fallout New Vegas, which was arguably the best of the Fallout games to this point. Yeah, it was clunky because it was still built upon the Gamebryo engine, which is still technically a thing, even though it's renamed to the Creation engine or whatever they call it now. But it was still far better than Fallout 3 ever was, just due to the fact that you had such a breakdown in things you could do. You could join different factions, you could craft ammo. If you wanted to take Wild Wasteland and see Indiana Jones in a refrigerator, you could. But that's what made it a superior game, is its ability to give you choice. Fallout 4, while it may be a big game with lots to do, is not an RPG. And I say this because I feel like they have completely stripped away everything that makes Fallout minus the post-nuclear, the apocalypse. And when you look at the subtitle of the first Fallout game, it's Fallout, a post-nuclear role-playing game. The whole point of the game is that you're in a position where bombs have fallen on the United States, you're coming out of a vault, everything's destroyed, and you get this choice of how you want to make your character. If you want to make your character crippled, you want to make your character a quadriplegic, you can. You can cripple your character in the character creation screen. And you can play the whole game like that. In Fallout 3, they kind of removed that. And Fallout New Vegas had some better perks or feats, as they would call them. And they removed that in Fallout 4. You can't even craft ammo in Fallout 4. There's a mod that allows you to craft ammo, but not everybody can install mods. I know consoles don't have mods yet, even though that's something that they are considering to put in, but I'm sure that's going to be highly curated and towards Bethesda's interests. Now, the thing about Fallout 4 is, being as big as it is, I really feel like there should be more choice. And when you look at a game like Fallout compared to, say, Wasteland, which is that isometric RPG much like the original Fallout games, and you see the amount of choice that was put into Wasteland. I mean, I didn't play a lot of Wasteland, I'm going to be completely honest, and I'm speaking about Wasteland 2 here, but you have so much more choice, and it brings back that original feeling that you had with the Fallout games. Fallout 4 does not give me that sense of joy that I got when I first started up Fallout 1 or 2, or Wasteland 2, even though I didn't finish it. When I go into Fallout 4, I just see Fallout 3 with shinier graphics. And like I said, Fallout 3 wasn't all of that good of a game. It was big, and there were more RPG elements in it than there are in Fallout 4, but that was about it. There wasn't all that much to do. If you wanted to blow up Megaton, you could, and I don't really think that's a spoiler at this point. If you haven't played Fallout 3, then you're pretty far behind. But I feel like Fallout 4 kind of gives you those same choices, but it's not as well put together. You don't have the option to create your character the way you want to, minus your facial expressions and the way you look, if you want to play a male or a female. And I really feel like that detracts from that type of gameplay, because I know when I sit down and I want to play an RPG, that I can go ahead and make whatever character I want to be. I'm not talking about RPG having choice like you want to be a pet mole rat or something. You know, I'm sure there's going to be mods for that once the creation kit comes out, but, or I'm sorry, the Gek. But I really think that giving a player choice in what they want to do, aside from building a settlement or going out and living off the wasteland, is a good thing to do. And I mean, even in all the Star Wars games, the Knights of the Old Republic and things like that, where you can create your character, but you can also assign skills and feats and things, it makes a difference in the way that the game plays. Because I feel like in Fallout 4, you become a jack of all trades, master of none, and you don't feel as accomplished at the end of the day. Going back to that, looking at the feats and everything like that, I mean, perks. I keep calling them feats, but they're perks. You look at the perk section and it looks nice. I like what they did with the special at the top, and then it breaks down. It's a good visual representation, but I don't understand the idea of assigning perks and not having skills. You look at these things that should be skills, like lock picking or sneaking, and you make them perks, and it's just a static, linear progression. It's not like you have a couple points and you go, okay, well, do I want to bump my lock picking or do I want to bump my barter? And that makes a big difference. It makes a difference as to whether or not you want to make these choices. And I think looking back at even like Oblivion or Morrowind, which I was very young when Morrowind came out, but I did play quite a bit of it, even though most of it was just me cheating and flying around and killing people. But still, you get a feeling from it where you go, okay, well, I know I want to upgrade this, but I need to upgrade this first. And I really feel like in Fallout, you just come up to a locked door and you go, advanced? Well, I don't have that, so I'll come back to it. Or guess there was nothing good behind it anyway. And I really feel like there is no need to better your feats if you don't want those feats, because now that everything's grouped together, you have nothing to go off of. You have no skills. You're basically picking what type of character you want to be right from the get-go, and that's that. And it's not like your feats do things like they did in the previous Fallout games. Bloody Mess was a perk. I keep calling them feats, but a perk. Bloody Mess was a perk where you got the damage bonus and the characters would explode occasionally if you shot them. And that was great. That was a good perk. And it's still a perk in Fallout 4, but so is Barter. Barter is now a perk, where it was a skill, where the more points you had in your Barter skill, that you had lower prices and you could haggle with the vendors a little bit more. Same with skill checks for talking to somebody. If you had a high enough charisma, and I understand that this falls under special, but if you had high enough charisma, you could talk to somebody. It would tell you like, oh, careful, you have a 46% chance of succeeding. Now you have a linear color guide. It's either yellow, it's orange, or it's red. And you have no reference to go off of to know whether or not you're going to be able to succeed in this skill check, because it's always yellow. Always. I mean, I have almost maxed charisma and it's always yellow for me. I actually failed a charisma check where I was talking to a guy to buy his dog, and I'm level 50 and I have maxed charisma, and I walked up to him and he goes, hey, you want to buy my dog? I go, charisma check? Nope, sorry, I don't want to sell it to you. So what am I supposed to do now? I have no idea. I've never seen this guy again, and I know my charisma is as high as it can be. With RPGs becoming such a robust genre within the gaming community, you would figure that they would put a little bit more into this game, considering how highly anticipated it was. And when I look back at all the other Fallout games, and I'm not just talking about 1 and 2, I'm talking about 3 and New Vegas as well as Tactics and all the the lesser known Fallout games. I'm disappointed. I really am. I wanted to like Fallout, and I knew that there were going to be some compromises, but I think what disappoints me most is it just became Skyrim with guns, and that was probably my biggest fear for Fallout 4. And I do hope that they make a New Vegas 2, because I think Obsidian did an amazing job with Fallout New Vegas. they were dealing with the tools they were given, and that was a dated game engine that's now aging. I think it's 10 or 11 years old, and it needs to be updated. I play Fallout 4 on two GTX 980s with an i7 3770K, okay, and I get 23 FPS in some of the towns, and that's completely unacceptable. I think that optimization should have been something that would hit home with them, considering how well Fallout 3 ran and, things in Fallout New Vegas. I mean, yeah, they slowed down. As your save file got bigger and bigger, they'd slow down. But I can honestly say I never had a problem with any of the Elder Scrolls games, whether it be Morrowind or Oblivion or Skyrim. None of them. I've never had an optimization issue with them. Skyrim obviously chugs a little bit when you have a ton of mods installed, but I always end up breaking my Skyrim game anyway and having to completely reinstall it from the ground up. And it really gets me because Oblivion on the Elder Scrolls part of it was an astounding RPG. Some people will say that Morrowind was better, and yes, Morrowind had a lot more character customization when it came to skills and perks or feats, if you want to call them that. And the world was just more put together. Oblivion was very good in the aspect that it was kind of ahead of its time with the storytelling and things. And I felt that Oblivion was really great in the way that you could join the Brotherhood. You could do all these other, you could join the Thieves Guild and such. And Skyrim was great because it gave you those options. If you wanted to stay in a town and smith all day, every day, you wanted to just go out and mine or come back and smith it into iron daggers and sell it to the merchant down the street, you could. If that's all you wanted to do, you could do that. And I feel like that's kind of something that Fallout offers you with the system of building a settlement, but it doesn't feel as inclusive. When you were building your house in Skyrim, you had to go and you had to get the materials to make nails. And you had to make the nails, and then you had to go and get the wood, and you had to chop wood to get wood, and you had to build your house from the ground up. Here it's, oh, what's this, a light bulb? Well, that's glass and ceramic, and look at that, now I have a radio. And to me, it's like, how does that even work? I understand what they were going for, but it definitely feels incomplete. When I can't even turn panels so that my fence isn't floating 6 to 10 feet above the ground, it feels very tacked on. And I feel like the house building aspect in The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, was brought later in the cycle and that it could have been expanded upon better, but it definitely was executed a lot better. I feel like you should be able to rebuild the houses in Sanctuary and that I shouldn't have to demolish them and put tin shacks all over the place because I don't like the appeal to them. And I guess I just feel disappointed with the fact that I'm going to have to wait for mods to be able to build the settlement I want to build and that I can't do the things that I wish to do. The wiring system is wholly difficult to get a hang of. You can only stretch a wire this far, and if it droops too low, it won't work, and you have to have pylons everywhere, and it's just, it looks cluttered, and I can't get into it. I tried to rebuild the castle a little bit. It was frustrating because you should have just had an option to rebuild the walls. I shouldn't have to put foundations in the walls to try and block raiders from getting in. It just looks terrible. It looks tacky. It looks, again, tacked on. And I definitely feel like they could have improved on that. I'm not a game developer. I know that there's way more than I can get into that goes into making these games. But when it comes to something that's a quintessential part of the game that a lot of people are going to go and put time into, you would think that they would put that thought into it. Maybe they don't want to build their own houses. They want to rebuild the houses in Sanctuary. They don't want to have to put foundations on the walls at the castle. They want to be able to just rebuild the walls of the castle. And I don't care if I have to go do a fetch quest to get cement to put the bricks back in place. I'll do that fetch quest because I want the castle to look complete. And it's the same with the debris that's all over the ground. You go and you rebuild Sanctuary from the ground up, but you can't remove the pile of trash that's sitting in the middle of the street. And it ends up looking like trash because you're given all this freedom to build, but you can't, God forbid you want to remove the bushes that are next to the house. You can't do that. You can build what they want you to build, and that's that. and if, God forbid you want to put two walls too close together because it's just not going to let you, and it horrible snapping mechanics, and yeah, that's a whole different animal that I'm not even going to get into. But I feel like Fallout as a game is very good. It's robust. There's a lot to do. You have all these buildings you can go into. There's story left and right. I'm not going to say anything about the main story because it is still a relatively new game and some people haven't completed it. But from a standpoint of things to do, there's a lot to do. It's just a terrible RPG. So that's my opinion, guys. Thank you for listening. If you have any other comments or anything, if you want to share your opinion, I'm more than happy to hear your opinion on the game. You can just leave it down in the comment, and I'll try and respond to it. I wanted to get that off because I was playing Fallout for a Let's Play, and I felt like it was just dragging because I wasn't really getting into it from a gameplay standpoint. I wanted to like Fallout. Sorry, I just hit the mic. I wanted to like Fallout, but I just can't get into it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.